Also known as the variegated spider monkey, brown spider monkeys are a mahogany brown monkey with a buff-colored underside, some having distinct triangle patches on their forehead. They usually have brown eyes, but some have been seen with blue. Brown spider monkeys have long lips with elongated fingers, as well as a prehensile tail adapted for an arboreal lifestyle. They grow up to 50 centimeters long and can weigh 9 kg, with the female being slightly larger. Brown spider monkeys spend almost their whole lives arboreally with limbs that are not well adapted to being on the ground. However, they do come to the forest floor to drink and to eat soil, which they need, as their diet is very phosphorus poor. They live in groups up to 30 animals, but will often break into smaller groups to forage. They are frugivores, but are known to also eat other plants' parts, including flowers, and occasionally eat insects such as termites and caterpillars. Brown spider monkeys require undisturbed primary lowland forests. Mostly they live at the top of the canopy, but can sometimes be seen lower down. They are endemic to northern Colombia and some smaller sites in Venezuela. The IUCN lists the species as critically endangered, estimating declines at least 80% from the mid-20th century to the millennium. Their main threat is habitat loss, mostly through conversion to agriculture and housing, as well as logging. These include housing in urban areas, livestock farming and ranching, hunting and trapping terrestrial animals, logging and wood harvesting. It is critically endangered, so closer to being extinct. And the habitat type is forest. They are sometimes trapped as a food source, while there is a fairly large area of forest available for them to live in. As little as 30% is of high quality and under a good level of protection. As a slow-breeding species, it can be difficult for populations to recover when loss of individuals occurs. Brown spider monkeys are important to the ecosystem because of the rainforests they live in, because they are believed to play the most active role in spreading seeds of the different plants throughout the forest. Without the spider monkeys, the seeds would not spread as they do now. This would mean that many plants and flowers will not continue to grow. Therefore, it doesn't matter if they do go extinct. Second, there would be an overpopulation of some plants and insects that the spider monkey feeds on. Third, some larger animals like pumas and jaguars would have to look for their food sources. If this happens, it would throw off the whole circle of life. Since humans are the main reason the brown spider monkey is going extinct, we can also be the one to try and save it. First thing we need to do is find different food sources which will make humans stop hunting and eating the brown spider monkeys. Second, we shouldn't trade or capture them as exotic pets. This prevents them from reproducing in their natural habitat. Lastly, humans need to stop destroying their habitats. We need to designate protected preserves and also ban logging practices in the rainforests.
The sea otter is an aquatic mammal part of the weasel family. It's often found along the coast of the Pacific Ocean in North America and Asia. It typically lives between the age of 15 to 20 years, and the average mass for an adult sea otter is around 49 up to 99 pounds. It typically spends most of its time in the water, but it does come ashore to sleep or rest. When they rest, they actually lay on their backs, and they use kelp to help them stay put, basically. That way they don't float around or get lost. They have webbed feet, water repellent fur to keep them dry and warm, and nostrils and ears that close in the water. They pretty much live around coastal areas with shallow water. They eat around up to 100 different species of prey and typically consume between 20% and 40% of their body weight daily. One of the most important roles that they have in ecosystems is by helping control herbivorous invertebrates. They prey on sea urchins and prevent them from overgrazing the forests of kelp, supporting the marine diversity. Without these otters, sea urchins could overpopulate the seafloor and eat the kelp forests that provide cover and food for other marine species. It was estimated that there was around 150,000 to 300,000 sea otters in the world once, probably hundreds of years ago. But this massive number was reduced to suddenly a mere 1,000 to 2,000 due to maritime fur trade of the 17 and 1800s. Essentially, what a lot of people did was hunt these animals for their fur, because they had the thickest fur in the animal kingdom, and the amount of fur that they had was insane. So what people did was pretty much they raised these sea otters, or they hunted them down, and they sold them pretty much to near extinction. And this lasted up until 1911, at which the amount of sea otters declined severely. There were more conservation methods, like the government, which they listed them in the Endangered Species Act in 1977. Pollution is one of the major threats to the species, as oil spillage causes its fur to lose its insulative properties, making it lose its heat, and pretty much dying because of the cold. Runoff from land contains dangerous chemicals that hurt otters. These pollutants are also absorbed by shellfish, which otters eat and become infected or intoxicated. Over time, their population gradually increased and became from nearly extinct to borderline recovered. Even though they're considered endangered on the IUCN Red List, there hasn't been any international sea otter population report in decades. In fact, the most recent otter population graph is from 2015, which shows a population of around 3,000 sea otters. And the biggest problem that I have with this is that it's only from California. So it's from the Bay Area, and there's pretty much little to no other data on any other international sea otter population. This doesn't consider the numerous other places sea otters reside in, such as Japan, Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, which may indicate that sea otters might not even be endangered, but due to lack of statistics, it has stayed this way. Conservation methods for sea otters have included prohibiting hunters from hunting sea otters through illegal protection, and organizations such as Sea Otter Conservation, SeaWorld, Monterey Bay Aquarium, and more have tried to help recover these sea otters. They pretty much try and find sea otters that are lost or that are hurt, and they nurse them back to health at their facilities, and then they're released. Some aquariums even raise their own sea otters to ensure that population levels stay balanced. Clearly, more research needs to be done to fully determine to what extent sea otters need help. If we see that the international population for sea otters is around 3,000, then we should increase our efforts to help sea otters. I'm not saying that we shouldn't now, I mean we should, but what I mean is that with the information that we have from California, that doesn't really give us a good base to start off. But if we know that in the entire world, internationally, there's only 3,000, then we know that we have to take some serious measures to help. After all, sea otters are considered a keystone species for helping balance ecosystems, and by helping restore them, we would be helping ecosystems and numerous animals that are there. So you're probably wondering like, okay, Joaquin, let's get to the point. Why should we save sea otters? And to that, I have a very simple solution. They are very cute and very adorable. So, yeah.
The Tahiti rail is a flightless bird first recorded by James Cook in 1773. They live solely on the island of Tahiti in French Polynesia. Like most rails, this bird was believed to have long legs, a long, thin beak, and very distinct coloring. The Tahiti rail had a white belly, brown, black, and red feathers, and an orange beak. Almost nothing is known about the rail's habitat, but it is said to have been seen in open areas, marshes, and coconut plantations. Its closest living ancestor is the buff-branded rail, a flightless bird native to most large isolated island chains in the Pacific. Its diet has been recorded as consisting of small ground insects and coconut meat. The rail, as a species, takes the rodent niche in most ecosystems, as it is a ground-dwelling herbivore that eats both insects and coconuts. Most ground-dwelling birds native to small Pacific islands are very susceptible to rat species that take advantage of the abundance of easy food sources with few predators. Rats and other non-native ground herbivores have devastated rail species in the past. It is believed that the Tahiti rail was wiped out not by rats, however. It is believed that the cats that were introduced to deal with the large rat population preyed on the Tahiti rail. The Tahiti rail was last recorded during the late 19th century. During this time, the island of Tahiti was home for many colonists, most of whom took cats with them to deal with the large rat problem. Unfortunately, the extinction of the Tahiti rail had little effect on the population of Tahiti, as its niche was filled by invasive rat species. This does not make the loss of the rail any less important.